This is the best French onion soup ever, and you're going to prepare it right here in your kitchen.
Today, we're putting together a French onion soup. And you know what? It's going to be delicious.
The best French onion soup has a very short list of ingredients. You will need 3 pounds of onions, 1 tablespoon each of oil and butter, 1 teaspoon of brown sugar, salt and pepper to your taste, 1 teaspoon of minced garlic, 6 cups of a good beef broth, and a half a cup of red wine. And you know what? Burgundy is always best.
Now, I've turned you down so you can see, and the first thing I'm going to do is cut the ends off of the onion. And you know, sometimes cutting onions are not always pleasant. Everyone has their own technique of how they do it. I'm not trying to teach you necessarily my technique, but I just peel them off. Now, what I like to do is to take that top layer off, because what that does is just bring those cleans up those onions very quickly and gets all the brown off. Now I'm going to sit those that I do off to the side, and then what we're going to do is to get everybody peeled, everybody cleaned up, clean that off, and then we'll slice them in half. So, ends first. Give it a little slice, just a tiny bit. Take that top layer off. Just peel the top layer off. And you know, sometimes they come off very easily and sometimes they don't. So you just have to work with it. All right, that's 2. Now, so I'm going to finish up the rest and we'll come back. French onion soup is amazing. And you know, they make you think that it's hard to do, and it's not. It's an easy meal, but not 30 minutes. I have all of the onions clean and they are ready to be sliced up. Now, this is what we're going to do.
We have cleaned those onions. We've taken all the skins off. And now what we're going to do is that we're going to slice the onions in half first. And we're going to do that to every one of the onions in this bowl. We're slicing them lengthwise so that when it's time to actually cut them into their little individual slices, this will move along very quickly and very easily. Now take your time. When you do all of them at one time and then go back and slice, it just saves you a little bit of work time.
Okay, we finished up slicing up all of those onions. And you know, amazingly enough, they did not bother my eyes this morning. So I'm pretty glad about that. So as you can see, this is 3 pounds of slice, and these are the yellow onions. You can use whatever onions you like, but this is what I have and this is what I'm using. So we've got 3 pounds. I'm going to take this over. We're going to go over to the stove and we're going to start to caramelize these onions.
Now that we're on the stove, we're going to get that pot nice and hot. I'm adding in a tablespoon of grapeseed oil. That's my oil of choice because it can handle the high heat, whereas olive oil cannot. I'm also going to add in a tablespoon of butter, and maybe even a little extra. As you can see, a little extra. Actually, that's a little more than a tablespoon, but it's going to make it good. Now what I'm doing is that I brought the temperature up. I want this butter to melt, but I don't want it to burn, so I'm keeping my eyes on it. While I'm doing that, I'm multitasking. I'm preparing breakfast. You can see I'm cooking some turkey bacon over there on the side, and I am just letting this pot come up to the temperature that it needs to be. So we are just going to prepare breakfast and cook the best onion soup ever. Now my plan is that we are going to prepare the soup today. This is Saturday. And then we'll actually serve it on Sunday because I think the soup is better when it's had a chance to sit for several hours. And so I think if it sits overnight for Sunday dinner, it will be perfect. Now you noticed I added in the teaspoon of brown sugar. That's going to help with the caramelization. So I'm going to let that melt and sizzle down there in the bottom of the pan. I'm turning the heat up just a little bit, but I don't want it to burn. So let's add in a pinch of salt. I'm putting in also a pinch of pepper because, you know, after all, the onions aren't going to come seasoned. So we need to make sure that we've taken care of that. So we have a nice huge bowl of onions that we're going to pour into this pot. Now, this is all about timing. It's going to take time, guys. Be patient. Patient. Every 5 minutes, come over and give it a good stir. I did it every 5 minutes for the first 30 minutes. It's going to take.
We are about 30 minutes in, and you can see that most of the juice that was down there in the bottom, most of it is gone. But there's still some down there. So before the caramelization can take place, all of that juice has to be gone. So if you still have a few onions that are holding on to each other, just kind of break them up when you're stirring, and keep your eye on it because this will start to change. And in fact, the onions are already changing colors. They aren't white, but they're not as caramel brown. They're going to almost be the color of this spoon. And in fact, they will be that color, and even maybe even a little darker. I am so glad that you're in the kitchen with me today because, you know, it's fun cooking, but it's more fun when you have somebody to talk to. So there's egg one. Don't forget to participate in the giveaway. Need 4. Okay, those are done. Everything cleaned up. It's time for a 5-minute stir. While those eggs are cooking, I have those on low. Well, these onions are getting a little more brown, and most of the juice is out of the bottom. Just give them a good stir. They're going to continue to caramelize. Well, I think the big guy's going to be good. He's got his biscuits with cheese and 2 eggs with his bacon.
I purposely held off putting the garlic in because, number one, I didn't want it to burn. And that's one of those things that you add just before you put the liquids in. And so as you can see, most of the juices are gone. So we're going to put in our teaspoon of minced garlic and get that stirred up well. And it's just going to give a good background. It's not going to be that knock you out type of garlic flavor because we want the onions to come through. And we're going to give that just a few minutes. Then we are going to be ready to add in our red wine. I'm putting in about a half cup. And this was the only red wine I had was my red velvet cupcake. And so it may be a little sweet, but that's okay. If you have Burgundy, it's going to have a drier flavor. And really, Burgundy is the wine of choice. But that wasn't what was on my shelf, so I didn't use that. Now I'm starting to add in the beef broth. And each of these cans is about 2 cups. So I've got 2 cans, and then I had some beef broth already in the refrigerator, so I'm going to pour that in as well. So we're putting in a total of 6 cups of beef broth. And you can use beef stock if you have it, whatever you have, that's your choice. And typically it needs to be beef. I'm also adding in just a tiny bit of a cornstarch thickener. I put a tablespoon of cornstarch with a tablespoon of water, and I'm adding that in. Now, that's just because I like the texture that it's going to give, but you don't have to have that if you're allergic to cornstarch. So you know what your sensitivities are, and you can choose from there. Now, so at this point, I'm going to add in some parsley flakes, and really, I just kind of put a palm full and toss those. Well, it's time for dinner, guys, and let's get down to serving this best, the absolute best French onion soup. Well, you see that I have these cute little bowls, and these are oven-proof bowls that I've placed hot soup into. I've cubed up some Gruyere cheese because that's the classic cheese to use in French onion soup, and we want our soup to be the best. Now, you'll notice that the cheese is melted. I've placed our toasted baguettes into these little bowls, and you'll notice that I also placed some cheese and I've toasted them so that they will be nice and cheesy as well. I'm serving this soup next to some pork chops with homemade apple chutney, and I made that apple chutney earlier in the day, and so as you can see, I'm putting it on top. The pork chops have been grilled, and I'm going to get that soup nice and hot. Let me clean up that plate, and ooh-wee, we are going to have a delicious dinner. So there's our soup and our pork chops, and you know what? Dinner is going to be delicious with the best French onion soup ever. Now guys, before we finish up that dinner, because once I start to put the food into my mouth, I'm not going to talk, because I'm going to focus on the food and the taste of the food. So I'm going to give you a little conversation now, because we want to be able to get to the fun stuff. All right, so first of all, thank you to those of you who are a part of the family. I certainly enjoy your comments and seeing you and talking to you and knowing that you're there. It really warms my heart, and I'm very grateful all the time. Now, for those of you who are brand new, woo, you are in for some fun, because here at Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme that we do things in the kitchen, for the kitchen. And you know what? We work hard, we love God and family, and we know without a doubt that everything else is just gravy. Now, we cook, we clean, we put things away, we shop, plan, decorate, which is always a lot of fun. And all of those things are done right here in the heart of my home, the kitchen. This is where everybody ends up, in the kitchen, because it's a place where it's fun. This is where there's something going on in here all the time. And it's where we teach, we share, and do all kinds of things. So certainly, if your kitchen has not become that heart, then now's the time to start developing it, because it doesn't happen overnight.
It's something that you try out. It develops day by day, by day by day. And you're loving on your family and loving your friends and those who are with you. So let's get to our delicious meal. Oh, I don't know about you, but I'm stuffed. We had an early dinner today, and I've got to get everything cleaned up, get the kitchen all straightened up, and we're just going to have a nice conversation toward the end. You know, this is a new year. We're doing new things, and we are loving on our family, sometimes at a distance and sometime up close. You know, people need each other, and we need to bring that to the home, whether it's by phone, technology, whatever it may be. Make sure that you stay in touch with your family and friends. Now, I am so glad that you have taken the time to be here with me, because it's just the big guy and I, and sometimes it's a little lonely. But you know what? When family and friends are with you, then that makes it a little easier. So I thank you for being here today. And, you know, I've got something cooking up here in the brain for later on this week. So we're going to be right back here in the kitchen, ready to do some more fun things. And you know what? It snowed. Oh, it was so pretty. And little Snowy that I put on the front porch so that he could greet you when you came. Well, wait until you see what he looks like with a blanket of thick snow, because it's so beautiful. Now, God bless you and have a wonderful week.